I didn't start it as soon as I got in the car because I was too busy trying to get home. I gotta go to the bathroom, y'all. Alright, but today we're gonna be talking about in this car vlog. Johnathan Major has been dropped by yet another company that worked with him. So last week his marketing team dropped him. This week his PR team dropped him. I guess I'll just check in with little updates like this every now and again. But the big news I want to talk about is DC is really trying to get the best out of me right now. It's been, I don't know if it's rumored, because like there's so many articles about it now. But supposedly, since James Gunn has taken over, there's been much talk about a Static Shock movie. And obviously, I mean, you guys don't know this, but like I'm a huge Static Shock fan. Grew up with the show, one of my favorite characters. His moveset, power skills, whatever you want to call them, so good. I pretty much pick it every time I play an RPG. Anytime there's a video game or something like that, and I get to choose electricity as a power, I'm picking it. The announcement of the McLaughlin boy, the young Stranger Things man. What I find interesting about that is, so how do they plan to position this movie, right? So my big thing about these comic book universe movies is I like that it be cohesive stories, or I want you to do like a very good one-shot. Now the problem is, they haven't really used Static Shock in a productive way since like pre-2007. Last time we seen them, well, technically last time we saw Static Shock was last year when they started the new run of his comic, which is, I think it's just called Static Shock. I got like the first issue with the variant cover of like the second arc or the second season. I don't know how you really categorize comic books like that, because like obviously they do a run, it's like X amount of comics for the story arc, and then so maybe it is just the next arc, right? So I've already got like the first issue of the second arc in the variant cover. And I think it's like on maybe like issue 4 or 5 right now. Still haven't read any of it. I was actually planning on probably getting an omnibus sometime, maybe during the summer, and just having that as something I can read. I find this very exciting. My favorite comic book hero is going to be realized in live action. Now, this begs the question of, will it respect the property? Now, obviously, they're doing a decent job, right? They're appealing to a portion of the internet by just making sure Static Shock's still black. Because they could have. They make every other character a different race. And honestly, being black is probably like really core to Static Shock's character. So like if they change that, I don't know what we do. It's interesting because I would like to know where the story's gonna go. And two, probably doesn't get talked about enough is with the whole social climate we got now, with the whole like, how movie industry is, with what people will call an agenda and what someone would just say is proper representation. I just think it's like, poor writing a lot of times. In the original run, when Static Shock was a part of Milestone, before DC, collectively swallowed it, and, it's just like it's just a branch of DC now. Back when it was just Milestone, Richie was originally gay. Now, when they brought it back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, whenever the cartoon dropped, Richie was actually, I'm gonna have to rewatch it because I really don't think they ever go into like any kind of detail, because like he never gets a girlfriend over the course of the show. He never has like some interest that's always hanging around him. He's always just like in the background or hanging out with Virgil, or like just not there. Interested to see what their take will be for Richie, since we all know modern movies, they like to place the stories in modern time, which it's not gonna be too far off of what Static Shock originally was, but there's gonna be cell phones now. So I wonder how bringing the story, and that's the thing too. It's like, are they gonna do like entirely their own story? Are they gonna pull from the original run in the 80s? Are they gonna pull from the cartoon? Are they going to pull from the New 52 version, which I did not like Static's dreads in that one. They just look like twists, and they're very big and poofy, and like, it's fine, but I grew up with Static, who had dreads. He had thick, chunky dreads. Like, they weren't, well, they actually might have been wigs, to be honest with you. But That's besides the point. Or are they going to pull from the new one? Which I think, like, the new one, it's got, like, Dakota in the name of it because, you know, obviously the story takes place in North Dakota or wherever. But yeah, I'm real curious to see where they pull their inspiration from or if they just make it all up on the fly. Because DC has had a fairly good to great track record for their animated movies. But for their live action movies, it's a toss-up. Because I truly think DC provided us some of its best live-action comic book movies when they were one-shots or when they were self-encapsulated. Like, Dark Knight does not breach over into anything else. All three of those movies are purely Dark Knight. There's no crossover anywhere, right? Green Lantern, not so great. No crossover. We appreciate that. We don't need any more of that. Ryan Reynolds hated it so much he went to Marvel, and then in Deadpool 2, he clowned on that character. So, and then, what else we got from DC? We got all the stuff that's like up to the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. But I want to talk specifically about like early 2000s moving to now. Unfortunately, I don't think DC really did a whole lot of live action movies. And that's kind of what put them in the weird position they were in when it came to Justice League. Because it's like, by the time Justice League came out, it's like, you've got one Batman movie, one Superman movie, Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. 5 people. By the time we got Endgame, because let's be real, Endgame and Justice League, they were supposed to be like the same impact, power level, whatever you want to say, right? Like this was their version of Endgame, Justice League. Now you only had 5 characters that got built up, and then you had to rush the Flash in, which the Flash movie is going to happen now after the fact, and then the reset, and then you had Cyborg, which all of his stuff was in the movie, and then was there any other characters that were in the Justice League? No, I think they had a pretty small cast on that one too. But then in the Snyder Cut, you get like some extra bonus people in the background. Like you got Martian Manhunter, you got Deathstroke. So it's like, what are y'all doing at DC? It's like, y'all have so much good material to work with, and you're not taking advantage of it. It's just, I don't want to be like rude and be like, this is upsetting me. But it is upsetting me, to be completely honest. It is. Because I truly think the Justice League, that whole section of DC was rushed. And the fact that like, Shazam 1 came out, and then Black Adam came out, and there was no presence of Shazam anywhere. And then you get Shazam 2, which nobody cares about because everything's already going to be reset, and none of this stuff matters. Is Shazam, is Black Adam in that? I don't think so. And then I see talks online of how Rock might not even be in the DC universe anymore, so it's like what happened? I will say, I did have fun and enjoy watching Black Adam. Did it deserve a high critical score from viewers or critics? No, it didn't. Back to Static Shock. I'm very interested to see how they can work this into the modern day times. Because, like, one, I never owned the comics from the 80s. I was able to pick up a few issues of it at, like, a local comic book store. But, like, obviously not enough to, like, read all of it. And then, I'm not sure if they had any omnibuses for the original Static Shock, but I watched pretty much all of the cartoon growing up, so like now my memory's a little vague on some stuff because it's been like years since I watched it. But I really want to know how they're going to introduce people becoming metahumans, because like in the cartoon you had the Bang Baby event, which is like this weird purple gas stuff, right? So it's like, are we going to get that? Is it going to be silly? Is it going to be, I wanted to make a really crude joke, but I didn't even know how to, like, present it, you know? Because, like, a while back, DC had this comic book that was, like, nothing but social justice characters. They had one named Safe Space, and then they had this, and this is where the joke was going to come from, but I don't even remember the character's name. There was some kid who got his powers from, like, internet gas or some shit like that, and I was just like, what? Pretty sure that comic book got canceled and never actually made it to shelves because, like, everybody clowned on it. It was so silly. There's nothing wrong with LGBT characters or, like, very inclusive characters or things like that. Like I said before, when people say everything's political, it's like, sure, but some things aren't as on the nose as others. And then designs, they were just so cheesy. It was like, how do I put it? You know how in June comes around, it's Gay Pride Month, and then like every corporation puts like a rainbow flag in their profile, like on Twitter or Instagram, or they redo their logo with the rainbow on it. for the entirety of the month, and then as soon as July 1st hits, it's gone. That's kind of the vibe I was getting with those character designs. It was like, look, gay. Like I always said, there's nothing wrong with these gay characters. You just have to present them properly. And I don't even, like, I'm just not even going to go on this tangent because, like, I feel like I've talked about it enough. Simply make good story, give us character development and growth. Like, show us things the character does. Don't just say, look, it's gay, it's black, representation. Because we're going to go, okay, cool, I feel seen. And then they're going to go to the movie and be like, this is fucking awful. This guy's not doing what, like, where's the, you know. I'm real curious about the Bang Baby event. Do I wonder if this will cross over into anything else? It truly depends on how far down the line we have to wait for this. Because, like, if we're getting all this information today that we got Caleb McLaughlin as Static or Virgil Hawkins, whichever one you want to call him. I like Virgil, it sounds cooler. But Static Shock is that dude. Yeah, like I was saying, since we got this news, it's only been one day. Or maybe this stuff's been online for a little bit longer than I've known of it. But, like, this is my first time hearing about it. So, I'm real curious about that. But another thing is, are we, like, finally in post-COVID? Are we finally in the post-COVID timeline? Because, like, let me tell you, I don't know if it's AI doing all this. I don't know if it's just people, like, mocking stuff and, like, making things up. But I shit you not. A couple weeks ago when they announced, even though it's been on a Wikipedia article page for like Lord knows how long, when they officially announced that they were doing the remake for Lilo and Stitch, within like 4 days they had 6 members of the cast. Shortly after that, we start seeing renders of the girl cast as Lilo with a creature that kind of looks like Stitch. Now again, I want to reiterate, I don't think these remakes are doing poorly or will perform poorly because they race swap people or colorism takes effect and they make somebody lighter skinned or darker skinned than they need to be. But what it really comes down to is the fact that these cartoons have the ability to over exaggerate their expressions. And when you move it to live action and you try to make stuff realistic, you don't get something as quirky and as funny as like somebody seeing something and their eyes bulging out the head. You're not gonna see somebody look around in confusion and question marks pop up beside their head. That's just not how it works. Now, I'm sure they could probably Who Framed Roger Rabbit it their way into something, but like, I don't think that's what they're going for. Because if you look at the past Disney remakes that went live action, what do? They tried to make everything hyper realistic. Lion King it didn't look horrible, but I didn't like the characters, right? I didn't like how Pumbaa looked. I thought Simba was a little meh. We wasn't doing it for me. Was the talking bird even in Aladdin? It's like the movie was so mediocre, I kind of just pushed everything out of my brain. Yeah, I wanted to touch bases with our black actors for a moment, you know. I've arrived at the house now. Yeah, big up to Caleb McLaughlin, you know, because everybody's loving him on Stranger Things. We got nothing but support for our boy Johnathan Majors until this news hits and we find out whether it's lie or it's real. It's like, obviously, you know, we live in a country where it's innocent until proven guilty, but things are a little backwards right now because it really seems like we're treating him as if he's guilty by dropping him from every job opportunity and career thing he could have. And then on top of that, we're going into dropping him from his marketing, dropping him from his PR. It's only a matter of time before Disney speaks up and says something, and hopefully they don't. I'm just hoping. Then again, it's like those text messages that were released. Supposedly, I don't know if those text messages were to help his case or make it worse, because it looks like a victim trying to apologize to their abuser for getting abused. And then like I said, the video got released. I haven't watched it, but like some people made comments about like the girl having 2 different phones. It's like, why you got 2 different phones? And even if she was cheating or doing doing dirt or whatever, I don't think that's justifiable enough to like, well, he did this. You know what I'm saying? I hope it works out for them. You know what, next time, we'll talk about Fantastic Four, because I've been seeing a lot of talk about that one. We already got Sue Storm. We already got Reed Richards picked out. We'll talk about that next time. Appreciate you guys. Love y'all. See y'all next time.